My name is Nell Parker. I'm 38 and until last week, I thought I was living the suburban American dream in Scottsdale, Arizona. Nice house with a pool we can barely afford. 2 kids with soccer schedules that require NASA-level coordination. And a husband of 12 years who I thought was just going through a midlife crisis with his sudden interest in fitness. Spoiler alert, the fitness had a name. Sienna Hartley, 29, personal trainer, size small. Let me back up and paint this disaster in proper American technicolor. I'm a dental hygienist. Yes, the person who makes you feel guilty about not flossing while having her fingers in your mouth. My husband Graham is an account manager at a software company. The kind of job where he wears khakis every day and complains about corporate synergy over our Costco rotisserie chicken dinners. We have 2 kids. Madison, who's 10, going on 16 with her TikTok obsession, and Connor, 7, who collects rocks and dead bugs with concerning enthusiasm. Our marriage wasn't perfect, whose is? But I thought we were solid. The kind of couple who might passive-aggressively load the dishwasher to make a point, but still remembered each other's coffee orders, and occasionally had date nights at Olive Garden when my mom would take the kids. 12 years of building a life together, surviving sleepless newborn nights, financial stress, and that phase where Graham tried growing a beard that made him look like a lost member of Duck Dynasty. Then came last Tuesday. I was driving our Honda Pilot, the quintessential I've surrendered to suburbia vehicle, and reached under the passenger seat for the pack of gum I keep there. Instead, my hand touched something plastic, a shopping bag, Victoria's Secret, to be specific. Now, if my husband had been buying lingerie for me, it would have been 1, the first time in about 3 years, and 2, a complete surprise since Graham usually gives me Amazon gift cards for special occasions with the romance of a utility bill. I pulled out the bag, and there it was, a red lace bra and matching thong with the tag still attached. Size small. I wear a medium on my most optimistic days after aggressive Spanx application. Well, this is awkward, I said to absolutely no one in the car. My brain started doing the mental gymnastics that wives have perfected since the dawn of marriage. Maybe it's for me, but he got the size wrong. Perhaps it's for his sister's birthday. Could our son be going through a very specific and concerningly adult phase of exploration? But the rational part of my brain, the part that knows Graham still wears underwear with holes in it because they're still functional, knew exactly what this was. I did what any reasonable adult would do. I drove to the Starbucks drive-thru, ordered a venti cold brew with extra shots, and parked to have my meltdown with appropriate caffeine support. Then I pulled out my phone and went full CSI, Scottsdale. First stop, our joint credit card app, and there it was, glowing like a radioactive betrayal on my screen. Victoria's Secret 18743 from 2 days ago. The same day, Graham told me he was hitting the gym hard after work. $187 for some scraps of red fabric. That wouldn't even fully cover a sandwich. The financial betrayal almost hurt as much as the actual betrayal. Almost. Next level investigation. Google Maps timeline. We had location sharing turned on years ago when Graham went on a business trip to Boston, and I was convinced he'd somehow get lost between the hotel and conference center. The man once got lost in our local Target. I clicked on his timeline for the day of the purchase. The little blue dot didn't show him at 24-Hour Fitness. It showed him at Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall. Unless they'd installed squat racks next to the Cinnabon, he'd lied about working out. By now, I'd progressed from shocked to furious to eerily calm, that dangerous state of tranquility where suburban moms plan perfect crimes. I went back through his social media activity, something I'd never bothered to monitor because I assumed he just used it to share unfunny memes and argue about sports with his college buddies. That's when I noticed a pattern. Graham had been systematically liking and occasionally commenting on photos posted by someone named Sienna Hartley. Her profile picture showed a tan-toned blonde in workout gear, flashing perfect teeth and holding a protein shake like it contained the elixir of youth. I clicked on her profile. Public, thank God. Or thank the narcissism that made her want maximum followers. Sienna Hartley, 29, personal trainer at Elite Fitness, Graham's gym, lover of sunsets, green smoothies, and inspirational quotes about becoming your best self. Her photos were a shrine to fitness culture, workout videos, meal prep containers arranged like color swatches, and the occasional philosophical caption about pushing limits that was probably meant to be about deadlifts, but took on a whole new meaning in my current situation. I scrolled further and further, my cold brew long forgotten. Then I hit the jackpot, a photo from 3 weeks ago. Graham was in the background of a group picture at some gym event, looking at Sienna with the same expression Connor has when staring at the Christmas toy catalog. Then I checked mutual connections. Bingo. Sienna was friends with Amber, Graham's cousin, the family connection, how they probably met. Amber, who'd been telling Graham he should get in shape for his 40th birthday next year. I kept scrolling through Sienna's life, displayed in perfectly filtered squares. Her most recent post stopped me cold. A photo of Thanksgiving preparation tagged at her mother's house in Tempe. The caption read, "Prepping for the best Thanksgiving feast with family, mom's famous turkey and all the fixings. Blessed family time Thanksgiving." I clicked on the location tag and found her mother's profile. Doris Hartley, 64, church volunteer coordinator, baker of award-winning pies, and grandmother to Sienna's 3 siblings' children. Her profile was also public and full of community events, church functions, and proud family photos. The perfect all-American family preparing for the perfect all-American holiday. That's when it hit me. The perfect nuclear revenge. I'd spent years cleaning other people's teeth, listening to their problems while they couldn't respond because my hands were in their mouths. I'd mastered the art of the polite smile while hearing about Janet's cruise vacation or Bob's golf game. I'd perfected patience. I'd become an expert at making others comfortable while they were vulnerable. But now it was time to use those skills differently. For 3 days, I planned. I went to work. I made the kids' lunches. I washed Graham's clothes and made pleasant conversation about his workouts. I watched him text under the table at dinner and pretended not to notice. I bought a classy black dress that made me look like I'd lost 10 pounds overnight. I did my hair the way the cute stylist at the salon said would frame my face better. I put on makeup that didn't come from the drugstore for once. Then I took that red lingerie set, carefully folded it, and placed it in a beautiful gift box with a gold ribbon. I wrote a simple card. "Sienna, you left this in my husband's car. I thought you might want it back. Best wishes, Nell Parker, Graham's wife." Oi. On Thanksgiving Day at precisely 6:15 p.m., I drove to the address I'd found through some light Facebook stalking. I stood on the porch of a tidy suburban home with a fall wreath on the door, turkey-shaped decorations visible through the window and the sound of family conversation drifting outside. I rang the doorbell, gift box in hand, wearing my best dental hygienist smile, the one that says, "This won't hurt a bit," right before it absolutely does. The door swung open to reveal a woman in her 60s wearing a festive turkey-themed apron and a smile that screamed, "I bake cookies for the neighborhood kids." Doris Hartley, I presumed, the matriarch of this Norman Rockwell painting come to life. "Hello there," she greeted me with genuine warmth. "Can I help you?" I maintained my professional smile, the one that's gotten me through countless interactions with patients who swear they floss daily despite the small ecosystem developing between their teeth. "Hi, Mrs. Hartley. I'm Nell Parker." I paused, letting the moment breathe like a fine wine, or in this case, like a vinegar about to be thrown in someone's face. "I'm so sorry to interrupt your Thanksgiving, but Sienna left something important in my husband Graham's car, and I thought it would be appropriate to return it personally." Mrs. Hartley's eyebrows lifted slightly, but her hospitality training kicked in. "Oh, how thoughtful. Please come in for a moment. We're just about to serve dinner, but I won't stay long," I assured her, stepping into the entryway that smelled like pumpkin pie and family traditions. I just wanted to make sure she got this. The living room opened up before me like a Thanksgiving edition of Better Homes and Gardens. A large dining table set with actual cloth napkins, not the paper ones I use for fancy dinners. A turkey glistening on a serving platter. And around the table, the entire Hartley clan, grandparents, siblings with spouses, adorable children in holiday outfits that hadn't been stained yet with cranberry sauce. And there she was, Sienna, even more flawless in person, wearing a cream-colored sweater that probably cost more than my entire Target wardrobe. Her blonde hair cascaded over her shoulders in the kind of waves I'd tried and failed to achieve with my straightener. She was mid-laugh at something, but when she saw me, her expression froze faster than a Midwest lake in January. The room quieted as all eyes turned to the unexpected guest. I could almost hear the record scratch from every movie scene where things are about to go spectacularly wrong. "Everyone, this is I'm sorry. What was your name again?" Mrs. Hartley asked, her hostess training still valiantly trying to salvage the situation. "Nell Parker, Graham Parker's wife." I smiled at Sienna, whose face had now achieved the color of the cranberry sauce on the table. "Graham and I have been married for 12 years. We have 2 wonderful children." I could see the exact moment when Sienna's brain caught up with what was happening. Her eyes darted to the gift box in my hands, then back to my face, then desperately around the room as if searching for an emergency exit that might materialize in her mother's living room. "See, honey, do you know Mrs. Parker?" her mother asked. Confusion evident. An older man who had to be Mr. Hartley stood up from the head of the table. "Is everything all right?" Everything's fine, I said cheerfully. I just wanted to return something Sienna accidentally left behind. It seemed too valuable to mail. I stepped forward and placed the beautifully wrapped box on the table. The gold ribbon gleamed under the dining room chandelier like a beacon of impending doom. It's from Victoria's Secret, I added helpfully. I believe it cost $18,743. My husband's credit card statement was very specific. The silence that followed was so complete you could hear the pie cooling on the windowsill. Sienna looked like she might actually dissolve into the hardwood floor. A fitness instructor suddenly unable to engage her core muscles enough to remain upright. I don't understand, Mrs. Hartley said, looking between me and her daughter. Sienna, what is this about? Sienna's brother, who looked about my age, started to get that dawning comprehension on his face. His wife beside him whispered something in his ear, and his eyes widened. Open it, I suggested gently to Mrs. Hartley. I think Sienna would want her things back. Like a woman in a trance, Mrs. Hartley untied the gold ribbon and lifted the lid of the box. The red lace lingerie set lay there in all its scandalous glory, the size small tag prominently visible, along with my handwritten note. Mrs. Hartley's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my word. Mr. Hartley leaned over to see what had caused his wife's distress, then straightened up so fast I thought he might pull something. His face flushed deep red, not with embarrassment, but with the kind of righteous anger that only comes from a father who's just discovered his daughter isn't the angel he thought she was. Sienna Elizabeth Hartley. He thundered in the voice I imagined he used during his Sunday school lessons. What is the meaning of this? Sienna finally found her voice, though it came out as a strangled whisper. Daddy, I can explain. Explain why another woman's husband bought you undergarments. Her mother cut in. The word undergarments pronounced as if it were a particularly vulgar profanity. Sienna's sister-in-law, a woman with a practical bob and judgment in her eyes, pulled her two small children closer, as if to shield them from the moral corruption unfolding at the Thanksgiving table. Maybe I should go, Sienna's brother's teenage daughter said, clearly delighted by this unexpected drama and already pulling out her phone. I could practically see the family group chat notifications blowing up across Tempe. No one is going anywhere until we get to the bottom of this, Mr. Hartley declared. I decided this was my moment to add just a sprinkle more chaos to the situation. Oh, I should mention Graham told me he was at the gym when he bought these. Apparently, leg day now includes a stop at Victoria's Secret. Fascinating workout routine. Mrs. Hartley turned to her daughter with tears forming in her eyes. Is this true? Are you involved with a married man with children? The grandparents at the table were whispering frantically to each other while Sienna's other brother was suddenly very interested in his mashed potatoes, sculpting them into a mountain to avoid making eye contact with anyone. How could you? Mrs. Hartley continued, her voice rising. After all, we taught you about faith and family values. I'm the chairwoman of the church's marriage ministry, for heaven's sake. The irony was richer than the gravy boat being passed around the table moments before I arrived. Sienna finally managed to speak, her voice shaky. Mom, Dad, this isn't how it looks. It looks like my husband bought you expensive lingerie while telling me he was working out, I interjected helpfully. Also, he charged it to our family credit card, the one we use for our children's expenses. Madison needs braces next year, so every little bit helps. Sienna's youngest niece, who couldn't have been more than 6, chose that moment to ask in a piercing voice, Auntie Sienna, why did someone else's husband buy you underwear? And that's when Sienna's sister spit out her wine in a spectacular spray across the white tablecloth, creating a Rorschach test that looked remarkably like the map of a life imploding. Children, go to the living room, Mr. Hartley commanded, and the younger ones were ushered away by a teenage cousin who was clearly experiencing the best Thanksgiving of her life. I checked my watch. I'd been here exactly 7 minutes and had managed to dismantle the Hartley family Thanksgiving, Sienna's reputation, and possibly her relationship with her parents in less time than it takes to microwave a TV dinner. Well, I should be going, I said pleasantly, as if I'd just dropped off a casserole. My children are waiting at home. Our children. Graham's and mine. Wait, Mrs. Hartley said, suddenly remembering her manners, even in the midst of family catastrophe. How did you know where to find us? I smiled the smile I give patients right before telling them they need a root canal. Sienna posts everything on Instagram. Your Thanksgiving preparations, your address, the time dinner would be served. She's very thorough with her social media presence, almost as thorough as she was with my husband. With that parting shot, I turned to leave, the sounds of family discord erupting behind me like a volcano that had been dormant for too long. As I walked to my car, I could hear Mr. Hartley's booming voice through the still open front door. In my house on Thanksgiving, the Lord is testing me. The Honda Pilot felt different as I drove away from the Hartley family meltdown. Lighter somehow, as if the weight of humiliation I'd just delivered had physically lifted my SUV a few inches off the road. I cranked up Kelly Clarkson's Stronger to a volume that would have made Madison roll her eyes and Connor cover his ears. But they weren't with me. They were at my mother's house, blissfully unaware that their father was currently starring in the suburban version of every country song about cheating. I dropped them off earlier with the excuse that mommy and daddy need to have some grown-up time. My mother had winked and said something about keeping the spark alive. If only she knew the kind of spark I was planning, the kind that burns entire lives to the ground. I was halfway home when my phone erupted with notifications. Graham calling, Graham texting. Graham apparently discovering that his secret wasn't so secret anymore. I connected the Bluetooth and let his voice fill the car. Nell, where are you? I just got like 15 texts from Sienna. What did you do? The panic in his voice was delicious, like the first sip of wine after a particularly brutal day of cleaning plaque off the teeth of complaining patients. Hi, honey. I replied, my voice sugary sweet. How's your Thanksgiving going? Did you enjoy your workout today? Nell, what did you do? Each word landed like a stone dropping into a very deep well. I returned some property to its rightful owner. Victoria's Secret has a no-return policy on underwear. You know, hygiene concerns. I paused at a red light, checking my reflection in the rearview mirror. I looked good. Really good. By the way, Sienna's mom makes an impressive turkey. The little bit I saw before, everything went to pieces. Anyway, you went to her parents' house. His voice had reached a pitch I'd only heard once before when he found a spider in the shower and screamed like he was auditioning for a horror movie. You should call her, I suggested helpfully. She might need emotional support right now. Her father looked like he was about to have a coronary, and her mother was questioning every parenting decision she's ever made. The Thanksgiving table discussion took quite a turn from past the gravy to why is my daughter a homewrecker. I'm coming home now. The phone went dead. Perfect. Exactly as planned. I pulled into our driveway and hurried inside. I had maybe 20 minutes before Graham would arrive, and I needed to be ready. This was just Act 2 of my carefully orchestrated revenge symphony. While waiting, I decided to check Sienna's Instagram. Her last post from this morning showed her perfect manicure against a pumpkin pie with the caption, "Thankful for new beginnings. Boss, bless Dustier family first." The irony was thick enough to spread on toast. Then my phone pinged with a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Amber, Graham's cousin. I just heard what happened from Sienna. I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was seeing Graham. I thought they just knew each other from the gym. Call me if you need anything. Interesting. So, Amber hadn't been the matchmaker after all. She was collateral damage in Graham's web of lies. I saved her number. Having allies in the family might prove useful. My phone buzzed again. A text from one of the dental assistants at my practice. OMG, Nell. Sienna Hartley just set her Instagram to private. Everyone's talking about what happened at Thanksgiving dinner. Tracy's sister-in-law is neighbors with Sienna's cousin and heard everything. Call me. Small towns masquerading as cities. Got to love them. Scottsdale's gossip network moved faster than our internet connection. I heard Graham's car pull up in the driveway. Showtime. When he burst through the door, he looked like he'd aged 5 years in the past hour. His face was flushed, his hair disheveled, and he was still wearing the festive sweater his mother had given him last Christmas that made him look like a walking advertisement for candy canes. Have you lost your mind? He hissed, closing the door behind him and checking to make sure the neighbors weren't witnessing his meltdown through our bay windows. Interesting choice of opening line, I replied, calmly sipping the tea I'd made while waiting. I was expecting maybe, I'm sorry for betraying our marriage, or please forgive me for buying another woman lingerie with our family credit card. But sure, let's go with, have you lost your mind? Very original. You humiliated Sienna in front of her entire family on Thanksgiving. I set my tea down with exaggerated care. Fascinating that your first concern is for her embarrassment, not for, say, the fact that you've been cheating on your wife of 12 years and the mother of your children. Graham ran his hands through his hair, a nervous habit from college that appeared whenever he was caught in a lie. Like the time he claimed he'd been studying when he was actually at a bar watching the Super Bowl. It's not what you think really, because I think you've been sleeping with your 29-year-old personal trainer while telling me you're getting in shape for your 40th birthday. I think you charge lingerie for her on our family credit card, the same card we use for Connor's asthma medication. I think you've been living a double life and assumed I was too busy with the kids and worked to notice. We need to calm down and discuss this rationally, he said, switching tactics. The account manager in him was emerging. The one who smoothed over client concerns with corporate jargon and empty promises. Rationally? You want rational. Okay, let's be rational. I stood up and walked to our home office. Graham followed, confusion written across his face like the PowerPoint presentations he was always working on. I opened my laptop and turned it to face him. On the screen was a spreadsheet meticulously labeled, color-coded, and organized in the way I tracked our family finances. But this wasn't our budget. This was something else entirely. What am I looking at? He asked, squinting at the screen. This, dear Graham, is what I like to call Exhibit A for our divorce proceedings. I smiled pleasantly. It's a comprehensive record of your affair with Sienna, with timestamps, locations, credit card charges, and discrepancies in your stories about where you were versus where your phone's location actually showed you were. His face went from flush to pale faster than our property taxes had increased last year. You've been tracking me. No, you've been tracking yourself. Your Google timeline, our shared credit card app, your very public Instagram likes on Sienna's photos, the gym check-ins that mysteriously align with her personal training schedule she posts online. I just connected the very obvious dots. I scrolled through the spreadsheet. Did you know you haven't actually been to a real gym workout in approximately 6 weeks? Yet somehow you've spent $340 at the juice bar there. Must be very thirsty work, watching Sienna demonstrate squats. This is invasion of privacy, he sputtered, the indignation of the guilty flooding his voice. I laughed, actually laughed, and it felt wonderful. Privacy in a marriage? That's rich coming from the man who once insisted we share our email passwords because couples shouldn't have secrets. Remember that. It was right after I found those messages from your college ex-girlfriend and you swore it was just catching up. Graham collapsed onto our office chair, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. What do you want, Nell? And there it was. The million-dollar question. What did I want? Revenge. Yes. And I'd gotten the first taste of it at the Hartley household. But that was just the appetizer. I wanted the main course. I want you to look at the second tab of that spreadsheet, I said quietly. He clicked over and his eyes widened as he scanned the document. This is everything we own. Correct. Our assets, accounts, property, investments, everything. Notice anything interesting about the distribution column. He scrolled down, his face growing increasingly distressed. You've allocated 70% to yourself, plus primary custody of the children, the house, and the Honda Pilot, which, by the way, needs new brake pads. You might want to handle that before I take ownership. This is insane. No court would actually, I interrupted, according to Patricia, you remember her, my patient who happens to be one of the top divorce attorneys in Arizona. This is a rather generous offer considering the documented infidelity, the misuse of family funds, and the fact that I have evidence you took Sienna to our family cabin in Flagstaff last month when you told me you were at a team-building retreat. Graham's head snapped up. How did you the cabin security cameras send alerts to my phone, too, genius? I saw you arrive with her on October 12th at 7:43 p.m. I have the footage, all of it. I hadn't actually watched more than the arrival. Some things you can't unsee, but he didn't need to know that. I made a mistake, he whispered, finally dropping the indignation act. I got caught up and she was giving me attention, making me feel young again. Save the midlife crisis explanation for your therapist, I said. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign these papers. I pulled a manila folder from the desk drawer. Then you're going to pack an overnight bag and stay at the Extended Stay America off the highway. I've already booked you a room. Tomorrow you'll return at noon to explain to Madison and Connor why Daddy won't be living at home anymore. You've thought of everything, he said, a mixture of defeat and something like reluctant admiration in his voice. I smiled. I've had 12 years of managing our family's entire life while you focused on your career and apparently your extracurricular activities. Planning comes naturally to me. As I watched Graham trudge upstairs to pack, I felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction, not even anger anymore, but a strange sense of calm. The kind that comes with knowing exactly who you are and what you deserve. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Kids are fine. Want me to keep them overnight? I texted back, yes, please. Things are going exactly according to plan. The next day dawned with the kind of pristine clarity that only comes after emotional hurricanes. I'd slept better than I had in months, sprawled diagonally across our king-sized bed. A small liberty that felt revolutionary after years of sticking to my side. I woke up early, made coffee, and reviewed my battle plan for the day. Graham would be returning at noon to talk to the kids who were coming home from my mother's at 11. That gave me 3 hours to execute phase 3, what I like to call the financial reckoning. I opened my laptop and logged into our bank accounts, investment portfolios, and retirement funds. Before Graham had left for the extended stay America, which based on his expression might as well have been called extended stay in purgatory, he'd signed the papers I'd prepared, including authorization for me to make certain financial changes. First, I transferred his portion of our emergency fund, minus the cost of Madison's upcoming braces and Connor's summer asthma camp, to a new account in my name only. Next, I paid off my car and both our credit cards from our joint savings. Then, I contacted our investment advisor to begin the process of dividing our retirement accounts per the agreement. By 10:30, I'd effectively secured our financial future, mine and the kids. Anyway, Graham would keep his 401k and enough to start over. But the days of him having control over our family finances were officially over. Like his youth, his trustworthiness, and apparently his ability to hide lingerie properly. At 11 sharp, my mother's Subaru pulled into the driveway. I watched through the window as Madison stepped out, head down, probably texting her friends. Connor bounded out next, clutching what appeared to be a new rock for his collection. My mother followed, carrying their overnight bags and wearing her "I have opinions about your life choices" expression. "How are you holding up, honey?" she asked as soon as the kids ran upstairs to their rooms. "Surprisingly well," I answered truthfully. It's amazing how quickly 12 years of marriage can reorganize itself when you discover red lingerie that isn't yours. My mother's lips tightened. "Graham called your father this morning. That was unexpected. And your father told him he's lucky you didn't set his clothes on fire in the front yard." She smiled grimly. Then he hung up on him. Retired military fathers have a wonderful way of cutting through nonsense. Did Dad mention if Graham tried to defend himself? Apparently, he said something about a temporary lapse in judgment. And your father asked if he'd temporarily forgotten he had a wife and 2 children for the past several months. She patted my hand. "Need me to stay for the talk with the kids?" I shook my head. "No, this is something Graham and I need to handle together." One last co-parenting moment before the new normal begins. After she left, I called the kids downstairs. "Dad's coming over soon to talk to you both about some changes happening in our family." Madison looked up from her phone with sudden interest. "Are we getting a pool?" Tyler's family just got a pool with color-ranging lights. "No, not a pool." I sat them both down on the couch. "It's something more serious." Connor hugged his rock closer. "Is Dad sick?" "No, sweetie. Dad's healthy physically anyway." Morally was another question entirely. The doorbell rang at exactly noon. Say what you will about Graham Parker, but the man was punctual for important meetings and apparently for affair scheduling. He looked terrible. The kind of terrible that comes from sleeping on a hotel mattress that's seen too many traveling salesmen and not enough deep cleaning. His eyes were red-rimmed, his clothes wrinkled, and he'd missed a spot shaving. "Good. Come in," I said formally, as if he were a door-to-door salesman rather than the man who'd seen me give birth twice. The kids ran to him with their usual enthusiasm. For their sake, I maintained a neutral expression rather than the "your father is a walking disappointment" face I'd been practicing in the mirror. "Why don't we all sit down?" I suggested after the initial hugs. "Dad has something important to tell you." Graham shot me a look that clearly said, "I thought we were doing this together," but I returned a smile that said, "You created this mess. You can start cleaning it up." "Madison, Connor," he began, his voice cracking slightly. "Your mom and I have decided that I am going to be living somewhere else for a while." Madison's phone dropped to her lap. A miracle in itself. "Are you getting divorced?" Leave it to a 10-year-old to cut straight to the point. I'd swear she got that from my side of the family. "Yes," I answered when Graham seemed to choke on the word. "We are getting divorced." Connor's lower lip trembled. "But why don't you love each other anymore?" Graham looked like a man facing a firing squad. "Sometimes adults make mistakes," he said, choosing his words carefully. "I made a very big mistake that hurt your mom a lot." "What did you do?" Madison demanded suddenly, every inch the protective daughter. Graham looked to me for help. I raised an eyebrow. "You dug this hole, buddy. I wasn't honest with your mom. I broke promises that I made to her when we got married." Madison's eyes narrowed in a way that reminded me eerily of my own mother. "You cheated, didn't you? Like Olivia's dad did with their babysitter." The accuracy of her assessment left Graham speechless. I stepped in, putting my arm around Connor, who had started to sniffle. "Yes, Madison. Dad had a relationship with someone else. That's why we can't be married anymore." "Is she prettier than Mom?" Madison asked, directing a glare at her father that would have made lesser men crumble. "No one is prettier than your mom," Graham answered. And for a brief moment, I almost remembered why I'd married him. Almost. The conversation continued with Graham explaining the new living arrangements, visitation schedules, and reassuring the kids repeatedly that none of this was their fault, and both of us still loved them more than anything. After an emotionally exhausting hour, Graham left with promises to call that evening and see them the next day. Connor clung to me while Madison stomped to her room and slammed the door. A preview of the teenage years lurking just around the corner. Just as Graham was pulling out of the driveway, a sleek black BMW pulled up behind him. A woman in an impeccable pantsuit emerged, carrying a leather portfolio. Patricia Wells, divorce attorney extraordinaire and my Thursday SEC-PM dental patient for the past 6 years. Graham's face as he recognized her was worth every cent of her $400 hourly rate. He drove away with the defeated slouch of a man who knew he was outmaneuvered. Right on time, I greeted her at the door. Always, she smiled professionally. Did he sign the preliminary papers? Every page, I confirmed, leading her to the dining room where I'd set up all the documentation. Excellent. And how did the children take it? About as well as can be expected. Madison figured it out immediately. Connor's confused, but resilient. Patricia nodded. Children are surprisingly adaptable. Now, let's make sure your financial security is locked down tighter than my mother's recipe for key lime pie. For the next 2 hours, we finalized documents, made calls, and secured my position. By the time Patricia left, I had transformed from soon-to-be divorced mom to independent woman with a legally bulletproof future. I was making dinner when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Doris Hartley. I got your number from your husband's cousin, Amber. I want to apologize for my daughter's behavior and let you know that in our house, we don't condone homewrecking. Sienna has been asked to find another living situation and reflect on her choices. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to call. P.S. I've removed her as co-chair of the church's youth committee. I saved the number. Oddly touched by this gesture from a woman whose Thanksgiving I'd spectacularly ruined. Another text came in, this time from my dental office manager. Just heard Sienna Hartley was let go from Elite Fitness after 3 clients, all married women, complained about her training methods with their husbands. Your Thanksgiving surprise is the talk of every salon in Scottsdale. See you Monday. P.S. We're all on your side. I smiled as I stirred the pasta sauce. The universe has a way of balancing its books and sometimes it helps to give the universe a little nudge in the right direction. My phone rang again. Graham. I let it go to voicemail. Whatever crisis he was having could wait until tomorrow. Tonight was for me and the kids. Our first dinner is what the divorce paperwork clinically called the newly structured family unit. But I had a better name for it. The beginning of our next chapter. 6 months can change everything. Half a year since the Thanksgiving lingerie incident, as my dental assistants now reverently refer to it, and life has rearranged itself into something I never imagined. Something better. Spring in Scottsdale brings desert blooms, tourists fleeing colder states, and in my case, the final divorce decree arriving via certified mail. I signed for the envelope wearing the same black dress I'd worn to deliver that gift box to the Hartley family dinner. Poetic symmetry, even if I was the only one who appreciated it. The terms were exactly as Patricia and I had outlined. Primary custody, the house, 70% of our assets, and child support that would ensure Madison could get both braces, and the summer art camp she suddenly couldn't live without. Graham got what Graham deserved. Supervised visitation until he completed the court-mandated parenting classes. Turns out judges frown upon fathers who introduce affair partners to their children without consulting the mother, his 401k, and the cabin in Flagstaff that I never wanted anyway. Too many mosquitoes, not enough wine refrigerators. I was arranging the divorce papers in my life reconstruction binder when Madison wandered into the kitchen. Is that from Dad's lawyer? She asked, peering at the official seal. Yes. The divorce is officially final. I closed the binder, studying my daughter's face for signs of distress. Instead, she nodded thoughtfully. Good. You smile more now from the mouths of almost preteen. Do I? Yeah. Before you used to do that fake smile that didn't reach your eyes, like when Mrs. Peterson brings her yappy dog to her appointments and you pretend you think it's cute. I laughed. That obvious, huh? Mom, everyone knows you hate small dogs. Just like everyone knew Dad was being shady with his phone for months. She grabbed an apple from the fruit bowl. Connor and I talked about it. We're glad you're not sad anymore. My throat tightened. When did you get so wise? She shrugged with elaborate casualness. Probably around the time Dad tried tea. Oh, convince us that his new apartment swimming pool makes up for him missing Connor's science fair. She bit into her apple. It doesn't, by the way. After she left, I sat at our kitchen island. My kitchen island now and reflected on the unexpected gifts that had come from Graham's betrayal. First, self-respect. I'd always prided myself on being forgiving, accommodating, understanding. Turns out those qualities taken too far become doormat behavior. The day I walked into the Hartley family Thanksgiving with that lingerie box was the day I reclaimed something I hadn't even realized was missing. Second, community. The Scottsdale Mom Mafia, as my office staff called them, had rallied around me with unexpected ferocity. Meal trains, childcare offers, and most importantly, the social exile of both Graham and Sienna from any establishment more upscale than a gas station convenience store. Third, freedom. The freedom to eat ice cream straight from the container without Graham's comments about portion control. The freedom to watch serial killer documentaries instead of endless sports games. The freedom to rediscover who Nell Parker was before she became Mrs. Graham Parker. My phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. Girls' night. Marcella's house. 7 p.m. Another unexpected gift. Actual friendships with women I'd previously only known as Tyler's mom or Madison's friend's mother. Turns out nothing bonds women faster than helping one of their own rise from the ashes of a cheating husband's dumpster fire. Speaking of Graham, he'd settled into his new role as weekend dad with all the enthusiasm of a man assigned community service. He'd recently been promoted at work. Apparently, having fewer family obligations freed up time for corporate ladder climbing and had taken to sending the kids elaborate gifts that I strongly suspected were chosen by his administrative assistant. And Sienna, last I heard, she'd moved to Los Angeles to pursue fitness influencer fame. Her Instagram still featured inspirational quotes about rising above negativity and finding her authentic path, though the comment section suggested people hadn't quite forgotten her role in breaking up a family. The internet has a long memory, especially for women who buy their lingerie with other women's husbands' credit cards. As for me, I'd gotten a promotion, too, from hygienist to practice manager with a salary increase that made Graham's child support more of a nice bonus than a necessity. I'd started taking weekend photography classes, joined a book club that actually discussed the books, and rediscovered my pre-marriage passion for hiking. Last weekend, I'd climbed Camelback Mountain for the first time in years, texting a summit selfie to my new group chat named Divorce Glow Up Committee. Connor appeared in the kitchen doorway, interrupting my thoughts. Mom, can Tyler come over to see my new rock collection display? Sure, honey. I'll text his mom. Thanks. Oh, and Dad called. He said he might be late picking us up tomorrow because of a work thing. Connor shrugged. I told him it's okay because we're going to Aunt Jenna's pool afterward anyway. My sister Jenna, another relationship that had strengthened post-divorce. Her pool was bigger than the one at Graham's apartment complex, a fact the kids never tired of pointing out to their father. As Connor ran off to organize his precious rocks, I opened a bottle of wine. Not the cheap stuff Graham always bought, but the good Cabernet I'd developed a taste for on my recent girls' trip to Napa. I poured myself a generous glass and stepped out onto the back patio. The Arizona sunset painted the sky in vibrant oranges and pinks, the perfect backdrop for contemplation. If someone had told me last Thanksgiving that I'd be sitting here now, divorced, thriving, genuinely happy, I would have thought they were delusional. But life is funny that way. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best beginnings. Sometimes you need to open a box of red lingerie to close the chapter on a life that was never quite right. And sometimes, just sometimes, revenge isn't served cold after all. It's served at Thanksgiving dinner wrapped in gold ribbon with a side of life-changing clarity.